Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and I work with a lot of individuals with attachment wounds. Now, specifically, I work with avoidantly attached individuals, and from my caseload, they're very typically dismissive avoidant, or if they're fearful avoidant, they are leaning dismissive. And so that's important to recognize. And today I wanted to address a topic that has been requested quite a bit, but also just asked a lot in the comments, like, why is this happening? What's going on? And so I felt like I could make a video to help individuals understand why avoidants ghost you, why they suddenly disappear, why they drop off, and not even just ghosting. Sometimes why they just don't, text for a couple days and they just come back, right? That happens a lot. And so I'm going to talk about that particular aspect first, and then we're going to go into actual ghosting, okay? So the reason why an avoidant individual, they will text you quite frequently, especially when they're wanting to meet up with you, right? But not always. And then for a couple days, they just drop off the face of the earth and you have no idea. And then they just come back, how's your day or good morning, whatever it is, like after 3 or 4 days, sometimes even a week. Why avoidant individuals do that? First of all, it is not healthy. It might be, but it's not. It doesn't really help build relationships, at least to a typical standpoint. And so it's something that needs to be addressed at one point if that's something you want. But why the avoidant individual does that is because often there are a lot of things in their life that either they don't want to open up to you about yet, or they don't know how to communicate their day-to-day perspectives with you. It's not always a lack of trust, but sometimes they just don't understand that that's something to keep a relationship going typically. And when they do that, it doesn't have anything to do with you. Sometimes they just need to decompress. They need space. So the main reason why avoidant individuals do that is because of their own emotional management, right? Emotional regulation skills. So if an avoidant is doing that and you see that that's a pattern, I want you to remember it's likely nothing to do with you. If they disappear a couple days, even a week, and they come back and you see that that's a typical pattern that they do, it has nothing to do with you. That's how they communicate. Now, having a conversation that's something you may not like or appreciate, that's a different reasoning, right? But the reason why they do it because that's how they communicate. That's how they regulate themselves. Avoidant individuals, especially if you're seeing that it's consistent, they still talk to you, but they just disappear for a couple of days and they talk to you. It's still consistent, but it just has a lot more gaps than you would like communicating. And I will make another video on how to address those gaps. But for now, I'm just talking about why avoidant individuals do that. So I don't really consider that ghosting, but some people do. So I wanted to put that in the video and just knock it out so y'all can understand that's not necessarily ghosting, at least for an avoidant individual, because they're not trying to disappear. They just are. That's just how they communicate sometimes. I will address another thing. Not all avoidants are like that. And actually, a lot of them are not. Especially dismissive avoidant. Fearful avoidant might be like that a little bit more often, but dismissive avoidant individuals, a lot of them are completely okay with texting you a lot. It just what ends up happening when they are texting you or communicating with you, whatever it may be, it's a little bit more dry and business-like. Whereas the avoidant individuals who text you and they drop off and they come back, those ones tend to be a little bit more romantic and a little bit more forward with their feelings because they have that time by themselves. They're managing their feelings. The feelings actually might even be more intense due to that. But avoidant individuals who are much more strict, more specific, business-like, they're totally fine with texting you every day. Probably as frequently as possible, honestly. Like, they are completely okay. They answer messages in 5 minutes. Some of you guys know some avoidants like that, right? But they just are not very good at communicating. So it's just two different types that I've seen, the most common two different types I've seen, okay? And so in terms of ghosting, where they actually disappear for long periods of time, maybe they come back, maybe they don't. So why do they do that, right? First and most important reason is they feel pressure of the responsibility that the relationship is about to begin. So they perceive that there's a relationship about to occur, about to happen. And relationships have responsibility. And that threatens their independence, at least they perceive. Obviously, a healthy relationship should not threaten the independence, at least not to prominently or consistently, but they have a perception of relationships that may not be healthy, and sometimes more often than not a negative perception. And so they believe relationships are threatening to them, their autonomy, their space, who they are. They're going to be forced to change. All of these negative and misconceptions are in their mind. And so the pressure of that relationship is starting to show up and they want to run away from it. This is often from their own desire to have a relationship with you. You may not have said anything, but their own desire is actually scaring them. They do want a relationship with you, but then what happens? Oh my God, it's so scary. Like I have to do X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to have to lose A, B, and C. No, not going to do it. I don't care if this is what I want. I'm not going to do it. I'm too scared. That's what it feels like if you play out their feeling and really understand and kind of dissect it. That's why they're doing what they do. So it's important to recognize you didn't do anything. You didn't do anything. Now, how to mitigate this, manage it, is be slower about the start of relationships and feelings so that they can actually be slower to falling in love. It sounds kind of silly, but if they're slow to falling in love, the emotions are easier for them to process because it's slower. And so they have a lower chance of actually doing this, running away from the possibility and the prospect of love. So really, really important to think about, okay? The next one is pretty similar, right? The pressure of the relationship was the first one, but the second one is their feelings are very, very intense and they don't know how to manage it. Avoidants do not work well with too many feelings in general. They don't. They operate in a way where they suppress it, as little emotional awareness as possible, unfortunately. And they do that. This suppression was caused by their parents typically, and they like to present in a suppressing way. And they want to be as conscious as possible of everything around them. And so what they actually do is they put their feelings in their unconscious mind. So they aren't aware of it because they don't know what to do with it. And so it's an avoidance of their feelings. And so if they have very intense feelings for you, they're going to do what they always do with all of their feelings. They're going to avoid it. They're going to run from it. And that means they're going to run from you. And so again, a way to really manage this is be slower about the feelings. Also, in general, it's important that I'm not saying maintain your distance, so please don't think that's what I'm saying, but it's important for you to also be very patient with yourself and your feelings. If you are noticing that you're falling very hard for your partner, they probably are also falling very hard for you. Usually it's a mutual connection. And so when you're noticing that, take a little bit of time to be a little bit slower, not slower to texting or anything, not silly games, none of that, but be slower to process your own feelings. Give yourself time to recognize, what can I do so that we can make this a little bit slower going forward so that we're not making mistakes. I want to process this too. So pay attention to your own feelings as well. That can help you manage their intense feelings, because as you slow down, maybe not meet them more infrequently, but maybe just take a little bit more time to adjust when you're going to meet. Maybe that'll lower the frequency, but it's not in a way where you're trying to mess with their head, right? You're not trying to adjust things to make them be more attracted to you. No, you're sitting there and processing your own self. What's going on so that I can manage my feelings? That allows them to manage their own feelings. And actually what you're doing is you're inviting them to a more healthy, more secure love instead of a more intense and could be volatile love. So it's very important to recognize, okay? The next one is, and I'm just being honest, you're not going to like this, but it is true, right? And I know most of you guys like my videos because I tell you the truth. And that's what I'm going to always do. So the truth of the matter is sometimes they just don't feel like the relationship was going anywhere. And they were afraid of your reaction, which isn't healthy. The right thing they could have said was, I don't feel like the relationship is going anywhere. And then you guys can have a conversation to either stay together and work on it or break it off, right? But they didn't want that conversation. It's too scary because they don't think you're going to understand. Because maybe they do want to be with you, but they just think that some things need to change on your end and they don't feel like you're going to take it well. And so what they've decided, instead of explaining that, maybe they disappear and they hope that you get the message. Not healthy at all. And avoidant individuals, when they do this, especially if they still wanted a relationship with you, but they wanted something of you to be changed or adjusted, that's oftentimes when time goes by, they come back because they do want you. They just wanted something for you to change, but they didn't tell you because they didn't think that you would take it well. And so they're in their own mind. They're messing with themselves, unfortunately. And the best way for you to manage this is, while they're still around and with you, always be open to any sort of thing that they say. Doesn't mean take criticism and mistreatment. But if they say, hey, sometimes I can't answer my text message during this time. I have a lot of meetings, midday. It's just, that's the time. I know I'm more available after work, but during that time, I can't answer. And then you can say, oh, I appreciate you telling me. I will back it off, right? Like right now, I'm kind of in between jobs, so I'm more available. So whatever it is, I'm going to make sure that I'm more aware going forward. Thank you for letting me know. Anytime they say anything, maybe they say you're a little bit overbearing sometimes. You're a little clingy. Avoidants use that word, right? And I know it can be offensive, but regardless of what the word they're using, what they're trying to say is sometimes I need some time to regulate myself, and I would appreciate if you could do the same. And when they say that, you're allowed to be upset. I wish that you would use another word, but I do hear that message. And you know what? I want to work on that. So thank you for bringing that to me. I don't want to come across that way, and I know sometimes I do. Thank you for letting me know. You mentioning that is going to reduce that chance of them breaking it off because they were too afraid to tell you they need something from you. And so that's a really good way to just mention things in general. And so that even if they are going to break it off, they have the more comfort of communicating that with you. And the very last reason that avoidants ghost you is because they just have poor communication skills. They may struggle to navigate difficult conversations, and it was terrifying to them. They don't know how to say it. They don't want to look like they don't know what they're doing. They don't want to be made looking like a fool. And so what they've done, if they've ghosted you. And it's not specifically because they wanted to end things, but they don't know how to communicate. The relationships do take communication, and they did not have those skills. And so they felt like, I don't have these skills. I don't know what to do. I don't like looking weak and helpless. So I'm going to leave this situation so that I do not look that way. And unfortunately, that is not a healthy reason. But hopefully this makes sense as to why avoidance ghosts you. There are plenty of other reasons, but I wanted to make this video to address some of the behaviors and conversations I see in the comments, which is good. I like that you guys are conversing, but I notice a lot of you guys are having question marks, like what's going on? What do I do? And so I hope that this helps you at least to fill in those gaps, why this is happening. So you don't take it personally, and you also have a little bit of tools what to do going forward, okay? So I hope this video was helpful. Please like, subscribe, share it with somebody who might need it, and I'll see you in the next one.